Hello and welcome to the Wyoming Booster Club concession stand orientation. We are very grateful that you are willing to volunteer, and hopefully this short video will provide you with all the information that you need to have a successful time in the concession stand. So let's start off talking about staffing. For football games, we're typically going to need 10 to 12 volunteers for the roles listed on the screen. With lower attended events, you can usually get by with 2 to 4 volunteers. However, youth nights, playoff games, and rivalry games may require additional staffing. If you have any questions about this, talk to your coach or talk to the Wyoming athletic director. They usually have good knowledge of the history of these types of events, and so they can help us anticipate crowd size. Now, for the football games, we always run the grill, we order in pizzas, chicken sandwiches, things like that. We typically don't do that at lower attended games. However, we can do that. So if you think that there's going to be a huge crowd for an upcoming soccer game, you can go ahead and make some of these orders. But what you need to know is that these orders need to be made several days in advance. So if you want chicken sandwiches or if you want burgers from the meat market, we need to order these things at least 3 days in advance. And so please connect with the Wyoming boosters who can help you coordinate those orders. It's also perfectly okay if you don't have time or you don't have the people power to run to make hot dogs or do pretzels or anything like that. It's totally fine to have a thin concession night. Just offer candy and soda, popcorn, something like that. That's totally fine. We understand that we're all volunteers. This is not an episode of The Bear, so don't stress yourselves out. So the first thing that you need to know is how to get in. So the volunteer coordinator for your team is going to have the access code. Typically, the volunteers should arrive about 30 minutes before game time. Once you access the building, there's a key box located under the front counter. And inside the key box, that's where you're going to find the keys that'll open up the coolers and the windows. Just to kind of cool off the concession stand, you're probably going to want to open up those windows sooner rather than later, just to get a little breeze going. And you do want to make sure that you're keeping track of the locks. So the window slides and the coolers. So we don't want to kind of put those in a big pile. We want to keep those separate for safekeeping. Safety is very important, just so you know, for when you're volunteering, that we do have 2 fire extinguishers. One is located in the door on the wall, like kind of near the back entrance, and the other one is located near the front window, near the pretzel machine. Make sure that you pick up any spills quickly. There are some cleaning supplies in the back closet. If you have any accidents like that, we don't want anybody to slip. And then there are gloves located under the pretzel machine. So when handling food, of course, it's important to be washing your hands frequently and also to make sure that we're using gloves when handling the food. As you're getting ready for the game, the first thing that you're going to want to do is plug a lot of different things in. So we're going to plug in the popcorn machine. We're going to plug in the pretzel warmer. You're going to set that to 170. Plug in the nacho cheese warmer. Plug in the crock pots if you're going to do butter for pretzels or the water for the hot dogs. And if you are in a game where we're going to have the pizza being available or the chicken sandwiches, you're going to want to plug in those warmers as well. The other thing that you're going to want to do immediately is to start to thaw out the pretzels or the hot dog buns, things that are located in the refrigerator or the freezers. So we want to get those out and start to get them thawing a little bit. You are also going to want to probably pop your first batch of popcorn if that's something that you're going to be selling, and we'll have a slide for that in a moment. And then make sure that the fridges are fully stocked before you open to the public and that you have enough sodas and waters. And you can always restock with the sodas that are located in the back. So we're going to do a quick overview of the different stations. The pretzel station is usually pretty popular. You're going to add a little bit of water, looking at the picture here, and set it to 170. We serve our pretzels. We use a little crock pot where you can fill that up with some melted butter. We can serve it with butter and salt or butter with cinnamon and sugar, and you can serve this on a plate or with the wax paper or foil, which is located right below the setup there with that you can see in the photo. One thing you want to make sure you don't do, though, is we don't butter the pretzels and put them back into the machine. That makes a mess that's going to be very difficult for us to clean up. Popcorn is also one of our top sellers. The very first time that you pop a batch of kernels, you're going to want to preheat the kettle for about 4 minutes, but that's only necessary the first batch that you make. Located underneath the counter, there is little packets of oil and corn kernels. That makes it super easy. There's also scissors that are hanging up underneath. So you just put those into the kettle that's located at the top and pop those. You just kind of listen and to see when it's full. And when you stop hearing the popcorn kernels popping, you can tip it. If you're not popping popcorn, then you're going to want to make sure you turn the kettle off. You keep the warmer on, but the kettle off. And then otherwise, you're going to get kind of like a little burning smell there. Nacho station is one of the easier ones. You set to level 2 when you first get there. Once the cheese has been warmed up, then you can turn it down to level 1. There's some little paper boats that are located to the side. Then you can serve the nachos with a bag of chips and the cheese there. And the cheese can remain in the warmer. So even after you unplug at the end of the night, you can just kind of like leave those in there, and that is totally okay. All right, hot dog and burger station. On a football night, you're going to have burgers being brought in from the outside grill, hot dogs being brought in sometimes from the outside grill if we might be grilling some sausages or some bratwurst or something like that. It just depends on the night. But those will be wrapped up and brought in to you. You might be in a situation though where you're making the hot dogs in the crock pot, which is totally fine. Then you would just wrap those there at the station. Uh, and then if you have like a smaller traffic night, then you can kind of do that on an individual basis. So maybe you start off with a package of 10 hot dogs and you can add additional hot dogs to the water as needed and just make sure those are fully cooked. Next up is candy, super popular, especially with our elementary kids out there. So those are located in the refrigerator. We store those back in the fridge, and then you can set them out on the countertops. Just make sure you don't get them too far out there because if they get put in the hot sun, the candy will start to melt. And then because we do have a lot of elementary school kids who tend to like the candy, they're reaching up onto the counter, and so they can kind of tip those things over. So you just want to make sure they're in a location where you can access the candy and kind of control the situation there. But those are pretty popular items with that younger set. Once it gets a little bit colder into October and November, those cold weather games, there might be a demand for more hot beverages. So we do have a Keurig that you can use to make individual cups of coffee. For high populated games, you might also consider making a batch of hot chocolate. We do have cream and sugar that is available, and you can see that's located in the back of the concession stand. You can see the urn for the hot chocolate, and you can see the individual kind of coffee maker pictured there. Money, all right? So we accept multiple forms of payment. So, of course, we accept cash. There's a cash box under the counter, or your team will have a designated cash box that you can make change from. People can also pay using Venmo. There's QR codes that are available underneath the counter that you can put out. They can just snap a picture of that QR code with their phone and make their payment that way. And then if you just ask to see their phone to show that they've completed the transaction, you can do it that way. And then we also have our Square terminals. And so those should be plugged in. And so you just got to turn them on and they should be fully charged. You just enter the amount, the total amount, and then they can tap their card. They can use Apple Pay, or they can swipe their card on these terminals in order to fulfill their purchase. And as we'll mention this again, but just make sure that we plug these back in at the end of the evening so that they get recharged. Cowboy hospitality. So You might not be aware that it has been difficult to get officials all across Southwest Ohio. So we want to make sure that we take super good care of the people who come and work our games. So the concession stand does provide free food and beverages to all game officials. We also do this for the announcers and the school administrators. Don't be surprised if the superintendent or if the AD drop by and if they ask for some bottles of water. They're just looking to hand these out to the umpires or to the referees or to our field volunteers. So we just want to make sure that we're being very hospitable, and we want people coming back to sign up for the games in Wyoming. We can also send up a concession volunteer if you have an announcer for your game. They typically can't leave the booth very easily. So if you send a volunteer or a parent or a kid up there to the booth, you can ask them what they'd like. And at halftime, you can bring them some drinks and some food as a courtesy from the Wyoming and a thank you from the Wyoming Boosters. And then finally, if you're at a game where we're getting deliveries for the chicken sandwiches or the pizza, please, you can tip out of the cash box, typically $5 to $10, $5 to $10, depending on the size of the order. If it's 2 pizzas, $5 would be sufficient. But if you have a big order of 10 pizzas coming in, you'd probably want to tip a little bit more. Once the game is over, we want to make sure we leave the concession stand as clean as you found it. So please clean out the popcorn maker, the crock pots, coffee pots, anything that you use, the pretzel warmer. There's squirt bottles that are labeled with vinegar and water. That's what we use to clean those machines. Please do not use Clorox wipes or anything like that, any of the chemical cleaners, because remember, we're serving food out of those specific machines. We would like for you to wash any utensils or dishes that you used. We can do that in the back sink. There's plenty of dish soap back there. And please wipe down all the countertops with the Clorox wipes. We would like for you to replace the candy and condiments back into the refrigerator. If you have time, please restock the sodas. We just sweep up the floors, and then we take the trash out to the dumpsters, which is located behind the stands, kind of over near the softball field. Now that it is closing time, you can unplug all of the machines with the exception of the coolers and the refrigerators. We want to make sure that we do plug in and recharge the square terminals. You lock back up all of the windows in the coolers. You put the keys back in the lockbox, turn out all the lights, and you can lock the door behind you. If you have any extra pizzas, you can sell entire pizzas if you'd like to fans that are exiting, for $7 or something like that. And if you're giving away food at the end of the game to players, after everything is finished and you're closing up, that's totally fine. We don't want to be wasteful, and be throwing away good food. But we're not going to keep extra pizzas. Like, there's no place to really store them. So it is okay to distribute them once the game is over. If you have any issues, your first point of contact should be your team's volunteer coordinator. They're going to have contact information for the Wyoming Boosters so they can make connections if you have any problems. The AD is usually at most of the games, so you can always ask them if you need help. All games have an on-site Wyoming administrator, so you can talk to them as well. Everybody will be super helpful. And like as mentioned previously, of course, you can contact a Wyoming board member if you have any issues. Okay, well, thank you very much. We hope that this video has been helpful. And thank you again very much for volunteering. Wyoming has a rich history and tradition of athletics. We've won the CHL All Sports Trophy 12 of the last 20 years, and it's because of volunteers like you making sure that our student athletes are outfitted with the best uniforms, the best equipment, that we're able to make sure that our student athletes are able to pay without having to pay additional fees. It's all because of your generosity. So thank you very much, and we hope you have a great time in the concession stand.